Cup. James Courtney gets squeezed from pole back to fourth. You'll see Cam McConville. Contact.
In fact, it was the other super cheap car that was involved in that down the inside, launching into the side of the number 12 Team BOC entry.
That's Evander.
Here's the Zinger replay. Let's see what happened. Bargwanna making a little contact there with the Fujitsu car. Then they all bottled up. This is on the exit of 5. Round goes one of the Valvolinkers. Just a traffic jam. It's a heck of a mess. Alan Gurr, Brad Jones.
Well, essentially, Alan Gurr was caught up in that twice, and this is Steve Owen. The exit of turn 8. Look at the force, the car that is carrying that car out of there, and that would have been a very scary ride. He said that something broke on the way in, possibly as a result of the contact. Look at this.
The first shot of that, the early part of that replay, looked to me like he was side by side with somebody there too, which is not a good place.
And for young Jack, yep.
So that was Cam McConville, but it wasn't Cam's fault because number 11 Jack Daniels' car of Jack Perkins just stopped.
On the Zinger replay, you'll see the super cheap auto car there. I think that's actually Dumbrell, Neil. And poor old Jack's day comes to an end. And as a result of that, we have 12. And an earlier incident shows John Bow at turn 7 on the Zinger replay. This record-equaling weekend.
Safely get to that, or do we need another flag to deal with it?
The replay will show us where it happened. It's up the top of turn 6.
Cold tyres. Here's what happened to John Bow. Given a little touch up there by car number 50, Cam McConville. Those two are good mates. Zinger replay tells us the story, and I think that it'd be fair to say that Cam might find himself in a spot of bother with race control over that one.
See the touch right there. A little bit of panel damage. Sends Bow spinning off. And our Zinger replay shows that by the time he got to the end of the straight there was nothing he could do.
Talking to Rob Starr, team manager here for HRT, he confirmed exactly what you're saying. It is a brake problem.
Here's the Zinger replay. It was contact. Contact between Wilson and Bow. That's deep, deep, deep into turn 7.
Yeah, at least he's round the corner a little bit. So makes good the manoeuvre that he pulled. Earlier contact, Stephen Richards on Cam McConville.
Both of them came towards turn 1. McConville coming out of pit lane. Richards back at the very end of turn 7. Look at the pace.
Safety car, full course yellow.
Make sure all the injectors are squirting. Make sure you've got squirted all the injectors and all the plug leads are on.
Paul Forgy talking about the James Courtney.
Take a look on the Zinger replay. There's definite contact between Dean Canto and Jason Bargwanna.
There's going to be a huge amount of dirt there. Drivers are currently being warned.
Replay will give us an indication. You'll see a tyre barrier and a wall there. Bang, that's big impact.
That was some sort of collapse in the front left-hand corner of the car. Watch this again, watch the front left. Look at that, the car's already down on its haunches. Something's let go and pitches him into the wall heavily.
You can see
right then is when it's good to have the hands device on.
Boys have just spoken to Ross Starr.
Towards the end here, look at him stuck on the left on the Zinger replay.
I think he did it on his own. He was out in the dirty line there. There's absolutely no grip out there, and Dean's fired at very high speed straight into the gravel trap on the outside of turn 1 and can't get out of there in a hurry. Here's the other angle of it. Look up the top right-hand corner on the Zinger replay and you'll see that he fires backwards into the gravel trap down there, which does a good job of arresting the car, but you can't drive out of it. So they couldn't see. Zinger replay, watch the contact between Todd Kelly and Stephen Richards, resulting in Richo leaning up against the tyre barrier. Here's another angle.
Front right caught contact with Kelly's car. He's ended up going off on the inside. The Zinger replay, that's why he's been spun around, so he actually didn't go off. He had to get off to get...
Is pointing in the wrong direction. There it goes under peak load when he's first applied the brakes. And
there he's a passenger.
Fortunately, it's not a concrete wall down here that he meets. The gravel does its job and the tyres finish it off for him and dampen the impact.
Be a different view of it from the Team Vodafone Falcon. Not unusual to see lockups there, but you can tell that that was something entirely different. It started way back over the top here and rode his luck all the way along the grass. On the Zinger replay, you'll see that the luck runs out. Kabam!
So did he end up just wide of the line on...
Canto. So there's been some impact somewhere along the way for Dean Canto. You can see Steve Owen ends up pointing the wrong way.
So
The Zinger replay will show contact into the wall, and it flips the Team Sirame car upside down and rolling.
yeah, fortunately, the rollover, now that I've seen it, wasn't as bad as otherwise might have imagined. So side by side, the reason was Brad's car tripped over the curb, and they did both back in there.
Oh dear.
Nasty incident. And Paul Morris will be wondering what on earth happened then. All of a sudden, it just would have been crunched from the left side. The guardrail's done a great job there of just cushioning that impact. And in rollover terms, it's not that bad. I mean, it's a pretty wild incident to witness.
Come the Zinger replay will tell us the story. Keep your eyes on the top of the screen, I'd say, because it's about to come into view now. And more impact.
Breakages this weekend. You know, on the loaded side of the car, we saw earlier. We saw earlier that situation.
Mate, just work on getting as much heat to those tyres while we're on safety car here, and yeah, we'll just have to hang out there and see what we can do.
Just coming onto the old back straight.
Whoa, a little too much. Clunk. And now Lee Holdsworth gets a spin, and the victim, John Bow. Off the wall, off the wall. Oh, dear.
Done a new fastest lap of the race, 34.3. Here's the replay of Jason Richards falling off on the braking approach to turn 7. Pretty heavy contact with that wall. That's going to be brake duct damage.
Arguing and dicing, and I think Jamie's teammate Craig Lowndes has had trouble there at turn 1.
to the back of the shot here. Exit at turn 4. What is there to see? And you see that way off in the distance, that is the Valvoline Cummins car rotating rearward, and he's gone rearward into the wall, which if you've got to go into the rotten thing, then that's definitely here of more trouble between turns 3 and 4. And was Dumbrell helped then? Possibly.
It was Dean Canto behind him. He was lucky.
Except they can't take advantage from it. That's what they've been told. There's the replay of the incident down at 3. Wow, a few rotations for Alan Gurr.
Full 720. Control, so this is looking out the back.
That's Dean Canto in behind him there, so...
Looking at Kambakopoulou.
I wonder whether or not there was any contact between those.
For Max Wilson on the Zinger replay, went deep into the infield. And he's been out there playing in the mud. It's Jason Bargwanna and Dean Canto coming through, and by the time that Morris came through, it was, hold on, folks, I'm going in. Going to end in tears.
Very difficult to go 3 wide up into turn 11. And around goes Lee Holdsworth. Steve Owen in the mix with Max Wilson.
Look at Max Wilson go, what are you guys doing? Get it.
Bed truck is racing out to grab that car at the moment. So Alan Gurr and Shane Price in a weird one there. I'd say interlocking wheels, and it's flicked Shane into the wall. Displayed. There's that contact I mentioned before.
Oh, he was way off the track on the grass. So Steve Owen had gone off before the entry to turn 2. He'll come zooming into picture here. Wham! And collects Lee Holdsworth and Jason Richards.
Maybe went in there too hot, or it might have been helped along. Here's another look again. Oh, he just gets moved over. So he's up the inside. He was battling with Max Wilson. Once he got on the grass, he had absolutely no chance of pulling up. My eyes were focused in the bottom replay, and for some reason Will Davison and Mark Winterbottom rub panels in the braking approach to 4, and then once this happens, you know it'll be chaotic, because Russell had nowhere to go, crunches into Winterbottom, and then everybody else scrambling. They can't see, there's smoke, there's dust. Will this reveal a bit more of the story? That's looking from Mark Winterbottom's car.
Watch what's coming though. Watch this. Oh!
And Bright was into the back of Ingle, and the rest of them scrambled through. Here it is again from the different angle. By that stage, Winterbottom was already crossed up. Actually, when you consider the...
Ingle yesterday with a big impact, and now it's happened to Stone Brothers again and Jack Daniels.
And the car that made contact with James was Stephen Johnson in the Jim Beam Racing Ford, I think.
Makes me wonder then what Stephen Johnson was doing back there.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, he started from...
Have an answer here as to what happened.
Head down.
It's me Simon Wills with Greg Murphy behind him, Stephen Johnson in there.
So Johnson and Murphy were the ones in front end. See whether the replay tells us more about it. There was another car involved, and it's Fabian Coulthard, the other car, but we don't know the details of how and why, but it's fired it into the pit while here. Now let's have a look and see what happened to...
It's Alan Gurr and one of the Team BOC cars, or both of them.
Andrew Jones, car number 12, was the other car involved.
This is the action that unfolded. You can see Stephen Johnson got turned around 360. Max Wilson avoided him. Simon Wills got caught up in the back. Contact.
He was straight to the floor, and there was absolutely nothing there. I was heading straight to the fence, so I decided to spin it round. Yeah, mate, I can see that. It's telemetry.
And he's had a brake issue. It says the pedal went to the floor, and the car's just fired off down there at 6. From that angle, it looks like there could have been contact, but there wasn't any contact. Just some kind of a brake issue for the WPS team, unfortunately.
He saw those...
Absolutely gone.
Just out in the dirty stuff there, and that's what caused him the problem.
Yeah, we can see that, mate. You've been pretty wounded the last couple of laps. Just keep on going, we'll get to the finish and see if we can see.
Good news there for Rick Kelly, who just snuck through on the inside of all that.
Jamie Whincup, round turn 3. Some action at the rear with Jason Bargwanna, Steve Owen and Stephen Johnson, all caught up.
And I think Stephen Johnson is now actually in the pit lane, so Bargwanna with nowhere to go there. This has been done by Jason Bright. Here it is again in replay, the issue between Tom and Stephen Richards. Well, I need to stop and think about that one as to who did what there. It looked like...
And then further down, this is what happened to Paul Morris. He dives on the inside. Whoa!
I couldn't work out why he dropped all that time. So here we go again, and they get off the corner. There's a little bit of grinding here, but I think it's when Richo slides a little on the dirt on the outside. It's hard to say. You need to stop and study those ones carefully, frame by frame. Enough racing room on the outside of turn 6.
This is going to be crazy. Watch this. Steve Ellery and Cam McConville get a little bit caught up into there, down the main straight. And watch this. Ellery will turn around here at the most precarious of positions. Paul Morris goes, what's happening?
The purpose of the weekend is seat time for Stephen Ellery before Sandown and Bathurst. So he picked up the throttle there to try and limit the car from running backwards off the circuit, but did actually keep him on the road, but it gave...
This is the incident right on the last well. James Courtney has definitely made contact with Scaife.
That's not good. So that's an error that will be penalised for James Courtney to give him a tap there at that point. When you make nose-to-tail contact like that and you hurt another competitor's chances, then be two things that happen there. Scaife will have something to say. Here it is again in replay. Watch for the Jim Beam car to come spinning out of the pack. He almost went to the infield. Meantime, on the outside of the road, Jack Perkins rotates. A good save by Jack. Drags, unfortunately, a big pile of dirt on. I wouldn't be surprised.
This will be the incident. Oh, there's a three-way crunch.
That's ridiculous. Now I know why Jason Bright was howling on the radio. That's... I
tell you, Panto in the middle of it.
There's some stupidity out there. I mean, it's not hard to work out that you'll have a nose-to-tail shunt down at turn 3 on a restart.
Now, Bright has also ended up, I'm pretty sure, having contact.
He's going to have to come through the lane. Look at this. Stephen Richards, Todd Kelly. He's a bit willing here. Woof.
You're on board with Rick Kelly. So that's what happened to Rick Kelly at turn 1. You'll watch the car behind the Team Vodafone car. So Stephen Richards gets hold of Whincup, who then gets hold of Kelly.
Yeah. And
the Richards incident was forced, or as a result of...
the cold tyres, water on the road. Round goes Mark Winterbottom in front of the field. Manages to rotate and pick it up again. Back of the guards hanging off turn 2. An incident here. Scaife trying to pull up, not whack the back of John Bower, but in doing so locks the rear brakes, tags Dean Canto. Round they go. This was the previous lap.
Canto was on cold tyres at that stage. He'd just come out after completing his pit stop. Look at Scaife trying to hold it. They both ended up losing it.
Well, Matty, you're spot on there with Mark Scaife. Just spoke to Rob Starr, the team manager there for Holden Racing Team. He said Scaife's car's got real problems. They just can't get it sorted out at the moment. Mark's got his hands full.
20.4 for Craig Lowndes. What's the replay reveal for us here?
That was just Paul Dumbrell earlier. Oh, he got a bit of a tap from one of the toll cars. That thing has been a real handful for Paul Dumbrell. We saw it on one of the wider shots before. Aside from traffic, crunch. Jones on Murphy.
Just to go back and add a little bit more information to that pit stop thing, replay here of what happened, and all pretty straightforward. Andrew off the worst for wear out of that one. To transit the pit lane, and then when you accelerate, the water all disappears again. Here it is again in replay. He was out of the slippery stuff, and when he turned the car in, the rear was gone. Yes, here's the replay. Look towards the rear of the picture, and Canto arrives backwards at turn 1 at 200 kilometres an hour.
That started way back on the entry. So they came across the bridge, and Scaife and Murphy are arguing, and by now they try and turn in. Crunch. You watch it keep going there. Scaife tried to hold on, and it flicks him over to the other side of the circuit. Buried him before he hit the tyre wall. That was the impact. And just so muddy and slippery on the inside there. He was no hope of some push and shove between Russell Ingall and John Bow. And this is what happened to Alan Gurr in the middle of all that. Oh, so there was contact with Max Wilson. Here's the Team Kiwi car and Shane Price. Wheel on wheel. And that's what happened to Shane. Oh, so he got a crunch. So that was Jamie.
That's the reason why
There
the
you
bottom.
go. We just saved Grant Denyer a run up pit lane. So that was the crunch. And then Shane Van Gisbergen, I think at that stage, Neil, he knew it was gone, so he just kept pushing.
Here it is again in replay. What happened? Did it on his own.
He's just slid all the way in there and backed it into the wall. We could well be finishing this race.
Time here, but if he was unlapped and there was another safety car to get him back in touch. Murphy around with Whincup. Whincup, has he saved it? Yes, just. Ingall's gone to the motorcycle road on the right. So is Jason Richards. It's chaos.
And carnage. They can't help themselves and off they go again. Stephen Johnson smashed into the back. There's smoke billowing out of it.
With a big rush though, and there's no sign of any brake lock. Like he didn't end up rolling the thing then. It's plucked the air dam off the front of it.
The exit, be smooth on the throttle.
This is the Team Kiwi car. John McIntyre behind the wheel.
A bit mystified too early, and here's the reason why Holdsworth went round. He was lucky he didn't get drilled by a couple of blokes.
Russell was in there as well. And
Team Kiwi car. If you jump to
Zinger replay at turn 2. Contact. Fabian Coulthard into the wall.
and race controls just asked for officials to observe the back of that car and to see how much damage there is to the bodywork. Little contact there with Glenn Seaton. He's tipped it up into the wall. That's the problem when you've got a quick car and you're battling away through the back of the field, sometimes very awkward. That car, here's what happened. Lowndes got very close to the back of Kelly as they approached the chase at 300 Ks. And when you're that close, it destabilises the car in front. And it's had a bit of a shake. He couldn't grab it. He's got onto the bumpy stuff. And then out there, it's dirty.
Oh, here comes Lowndes. Whoa!
And he missed him, obviously. So, amazing off. Here it is from the other angle. Lowndes was really hustling. And it just ran wide of the apex, and once you're onto that grubby stuff, and I reckon the tyres, it might have, you know what, there's enough tyre debris there, I reckon the tyres let go in the middle of the corner.
Yep, you can see it start flinging off. And watch this, just watch the left-hand side, you saw it there go.
And remember earlier in the race, we saw him lock the front left up at the top of the hill. This was a very, very lucky situation for Rick Kelly, because had that been a little bit different angle, the thing would have rolled over, or he could have been T-boned.
Will show us exactly what's happened to car 11 at the cutting, backs into it, glass everywhere.
Check your brake pedal, bring the rear bar back up to full step.
Marcus Marshall.
It could restart.
Same spot as where Stephen Johnson went awry before the top 10 shootout.
A few years ago, his boss Larry Perkins found the wall up.
You're on board with Dean Canto at the top of the mountain. Wow.
He hit the wall on the left.
Oh.
He hit the wall on the left and then cannoned into the wall on the right side at Reed.
That was the view from Jason Richards. This will be the view at the end of all that. So the impact goes much further back. By now, it's just a matter of the dirt and co stopping the car.
A little bit earlier. Here it is again in replay. Look up. There he is, whack. He just picked up the wall right at the very end of the exit there. And it immediately fired the car to the right side of the road.
This is what happened to Paul Morris, right at the cutting, from side to side.
Such is the slippery condition at the top that it trapped Paul Morris on the run up to the cutting. Couldn't pull it up. Locked the rears and whack into the wall here. See the wheel light up against the concrete.
The impact was already taken care of there by Fujitsu car.
Ingall, Scaife and Bright, massive experience and knowledge there, and all caught by the conditions.
Watch this. You'll lose it here, slam. Another car's already gone off in front of him into the wall. I reckon that might be Winterbottom. Or maybe Owen Kelly in the picture. No, he's not.
I reckon it was Johnson. I think it was the Jim Beam car.
Mark Scaife's day is over.
They're going to pit. They're talking about bringing people in. They're talking. Shane van Gisbergen rotates it here. He went off there earlier in the weekend as well. We need to be able to use it. Oop, trouble here. Van Gisbergen and Bow. Winterbottom mixed in there as well, and it was Bow that ended up turning around and recovering at turn 3. Looking from the other angle now. And I think John Bow's going to be pretty hot under this weekend that are using. Ooh, trouble here for Paul Dungrell. Nearly clobbered that turn 8 wall, and that's been a popular wall to hit in the over the years. Just, I'd say, probably blindsided a little bit and then got on the dirty part of the racetrack. And when you go offline here, there's absolutely no grip. Pretty nice recovery in many respects. Away at the start, and it's so very hard to recover in a quality field like this one. And Gurr has just nudged the wall at the exit of 12, and so that's the reason why I heard Jason Bright say that he wants to. And the car flew, and he couldn't get it back down again, and it flew up into the wall. Bang, there it is. So huge damage. And that was after all that other aggravation the previous lap. See how the car just flew up in the air there, then it slid. Old Richo, that's a tyre that's come off a tyre bungle there. Stevie was lucky to survive all that. Here's the other angle.
He goes in so deep and he ends up, you can see Stephen Richards lock it, try and avoid it. He ended up copping one of those tyres for his trouble as well.
Well, that's just the thing, boys. He actually hasn't survived this one. He is complaining of some suspension damage, and the team have got 4 new tyres waiting for him in pit lane. They're expecting him in to have a look.
Oh, that's how Winterbottom's day ended. Can you believe it? A tangle with Scaife. They were nudging each other along for quite a while.
Yeah, Scaife ended up wide here on the dirty line, waxed the wall. It was when he ricocheted, he got the FPR car. So he's bounced off the wall and tagged him in the left rear. And Winterbottom's gone round. Gee, how's this weekend gone from fantastic to rotten for FPR?
Unfortunately, he's bounced off the wall, so I don't reckon they'll do anything about it. So, we'll see what happens.
At midfield, probably there was a bit of contact, and here Dean Canto almost found himself.
Well, both the Jim Beam cars were wrapped up in that one. It's a little bit hard to see who did what to who, because 3 into 1 definitely does not go at the turn 1 chicane. Sorry, the turn 2 chicane, and it's typical of the sort of incident we see down there. Let's have a look at this one from the other angle here. You'll see Alan Gurr arrives pointing in the wrong direction. One of the Team BOC cars was involved in that. He actually did make contact with the wall. I didn't realise that he'd given it a rub. Oh, trouble here for Will Davison, tagging the wall. I think that's at turn 8, the northernmost point of the racetrack. He's locked the rear brakes just at the turning point with Winterbottom behind him. In fact, the driver that...
This will explain it. Down to the Falcon tyres turn. Big slide from Lowndes. Just missed the tyre barrier. May have got it just on reverse.
Gee, that was costly. Just couldn't get it in at 8. And this is what we picked up earlier, and we're very puzzled by it. He was very lucky not to get clobbered.
In front. So this goes back to our incident involving Todd Kelly, is it? Is that the one that... Yeah, that's where it all happened with the TKR car. And at the end of all that, so Shane van Gisbergen has hit the wall. John Bow's got nowhere to go. Todd Kelly gets squeezed in with Craig Lowndes. Kelly will now spin around, and JB has nowhere to go either, but straight into him.
Now it begins to make sense. I couldn't unravel turn 4.
And Shane Price getting a spin around too, with Steve Owen just shooting on by.
Of course.
It starts here at turn 3. Everybody's a little bit loose by now. A shove into turn 4, a spin. Yet again, Craig Lowndes has managed to escape all the disaster zone. So it's all over the shop by here.
So, Dean Canto it was, I think, that actually made the contact with Jamie in the end.
Well, Canto also made contact with the Jim Beam car of Steve Johnson as well.
And Steve Johnson's car's got a broken Watts link in the rear suspension. So
Morris comes back onto the circuit here.
You need to see it a few few times from a few angles to make up your mind as to what happened there, but looks like a 3 into 1 doesn't go there. Here's another angle, see whether this tells more of the story. I think the two wheels just interlocked there. Oh, have a go at Whincup.
I tell you what, he
slaps the wall there.
He was super lucky to escape without much more major damage. It could well have been exactly what happened to Lowndes.
I was worried for a moment that Lowndes could have been collected in the middle of the road. There's nothing worse than when these cars are crossed up sideways. That's the most perilous position for any of these drivers, when they're sideways to the traffic.
Continued the battle on the track. The Zinger replay showed the initial contact between Andrew Jones and Jamie Whincup. Now Whincup will end up spinning out here towards turn 4, and you'll see that Max Wilson, if we go deep, so that was the contact that spun him around with Lee Holdsworth, and then Max Wilson will come flying around while Jamie Whincup's sitting horizontal to the track, and he collected, bam, just there.
He might get pinged for a dangerous re-entry on that one, but as if things aren't bad enough already.
Oh dear.
Mind you, you cannot see out the back of the cars at all, so I mean it's literally dead reckoning there when you decide to move the car. Now what about this one? Rick Kelly down the inside on Garth Tander, and he's a long way down there, but GT turns in, and that will raise the blood pressure in that garage, and of course there's all sorts of chaos as a result of that. Here it is again from Rick's viewpoint. He thought he was far enough up, and then of course the gap narrows. Oh dear me. And consider the advantage the two of them had over both the 888 cars at that point. Car number 88 is going to get a black flag for the dangerous re-entry back onto the circuit, so Jamie Whincup will tour the pit lane, further adding injury to their weekend.
I was also wondering where the damage came from James Courtney's car. You can see it right there. He ended up crunching into the rear.
And this one was the contact between Scaife and Rick Kelly. And around they both go.
I don't reckon I've heard as much counselling over the radio in the first few laps.
No, I tell you what, there's big potential for civil war to break out with the HSV cars and the HRT cars making contact, let alone both HSV cars running into each other. That's the mechanism that allows him to use the flat shifting mechanism in the gearbox, and there's the incident earlier that damaged the back of John Bow's car that required the mechanical black flag to fix it, bring him in and fix it.
Smoke billowing out of Paul Morris, and Scaife goes in there facing the wrong way.
And Morris's car also had a huge front lock up there, front left I think it was.
I think that's the result of that.
Oh, is it?
That's still the result
just the contact on the guard. And I think Todd Kelly was also complaining about more contact with...
Zinger replay around at turn 8 with Alan Gurr in the Irwin Tools car.
And Stephen Richards has now come to the pit lane for that drive-through. I think Alan did that all on his own, grabbed the brake then in the middle of chaos here. It's Kelly and Paul Morris, and it's a bit of push and shove. And between those guys at the moment, it's getting ugly. Here it is again.
Missed each other this weekend, put it that way.
Winterbottom behind.
Oh, some trouble here between Steve Owen and Mark Scaife. It's been a horror weekend for both the Holden Racing Team entries, and did Mark do that on his own? Then I think Steve Owen may have just been dragged into it, not sure, on Whincup. Oh, that's a big one for Max. Pulled up just shy of the gravel down there.
Completely peaking, and this is why. Got completely muscled out of the way. Heavy impact into the wall and dust flying everywhere.
I think Steve Owen was the other car, and he was actually squeezed up on the curbing and then bounced once Cam's off on the dirty line. That's a big impact, and actually it's a reminder of how dangerous. Shifting mindset here for Garth Tander. Trouble here for Todd Kelly. Contact with Greg Murphy, who was animated on the radio a moment ago. And just prior to that, Todd Kelly had been warned to just go a bit easy on the brakes. They were seeing huge temperatures in that car. He locks the rear brakes, skates out into the weeds. and crosses the gravel. I tell you what, he was seriously lucky to be able to drive out of here. Under normal circumstances, that's not doable. Increased brake pressures and temperatures, tucked in behind another car, a little unforced error, and Tander off the road.
And they're not tiny pebbles down there either. There will be all sorts of junk underneath the Toll HSV Commodore. What's this? Yuck!
Well, so contact down there.
This would be Owen Kelly and Andrew Jones, so that was the beginning of what happened to Andrew Jones, and also we saw Owen Kelly with some trouble, so it all happened right there on the final turn.
Just talked to Campbell about the Craig Lowndes incident at the hairpin. He thinks he may have actually missed a gear shifting down, and that's why he ran off. They're just having a look at the...
So he's got damage on the guard. He got squeezed up on the fence. Nowhere really for Kelly to go there. So I don't think he'll have a case to answer on that one. But damage is why. John Bowe, Shane Van Gisbergen. So that's brought some gravel up onto the road.
Races, this will explain what happened to Greg Murphy. So it's coming out of turn 4 into effectively turn 4A, and then he ended up in the middle of nowhere. Argy-bargy for the Jack Daniels car of Shane Price and Stephen Johnson. Advantage Junior. Started way back there, eh?
I spoke to Larry in the garage before this race, and